Hello. Just want to share a recent experience I had with eBay. This is the ongoing love-hate relationship that a lot of us have with eBay. This to me is something new in the sense that it hadn't happened to me before, and I didn't hear about it, read about it, or know about it prior to this experience. Essentially, I get an email one day from eBay, and it says that another seller on eBay reported me as to infringing on his copyright and using his photographs and other material without his permission. It also states there who it is. So in this case, I saw the email and I right away identified it as being one of my competitors. So at first I became like really cooked up. I was very angry about this. But I'm a busy guy. I have business to run. Got a lot going on. I don't really want to get into a pissing war with this guy. So I'm just going to decide that I'll go to the two listings that they said were in violation. They said the photographs were shouldn't be using those, or that the description. So I figured I'll just take new photographs and I'll just rewrite the description. Now, a couple of things. Number one, the listing was gone, evaporated completely, which means that I couldn't alter it, update it, or change the photos and the text and the content. I essentially had to start from zero again. So that was upsetting. Second thing that I realized that really bothered me was I didn't receive a notice saying that there was an issue with the listing and we're calling this to your attention that you're using someone else's photo and content. Would you kindly do something about it soon, or we'll take it down, or do you have a reply? Maybe the person who's being, in my case, me, accused of using someone else's photo, maybe isn't. None of that happened. It's just like you wake up one day, you get this email, bingo, your listing's gone. So I proceeded to take new photographs. I typed up the two listings, put them back up, got over it, moved on, did it at night. Didn't really take up a tremendous amount of time, a couple of hours, we were done. What I did then was went on the internet and started to do some research about what this program is and what it's there for and whatnot. And say, for example, you were a large company like a designer, Calvin Klein or Estee Lauder, or I don't know, Apple, and somebody was using your photographs or selling your product was fake, or using photographs without your permission, or altering your photographs without permission. I could understand how, especially selling fake product, would be an issue. And if someone had taken your photograph and used it in a bad light, I could see how that would upset someone too, and call for wanting the person to change it. But let me tell you what happened in my case and why this is important, why it may happen to you, and possibly some safeguards that I'll tell you about, and you may come up with your own as well. The person who accused me of using his photograph actually was using my photographs. He was actually using my listing content, text, description stuff as well. That's why it really struck a nerve with me in particular. He also takes pages out of other people's owner's manuals and other people's descriptions and regularly uses them on his listings and his websites. He's selling under 4 different names, 4 different accounts, but they're all mysteriously in the same city, against eBay's policy, but they don't seem to care about that. And I would put him in the category of a genuine hypocrite because he has also purchased products from people where there was no patent or a patent had expired, sent it off to Asia, had it copied, knocked off, and just brought it in and started selling it for you know, a greater profit. He didn't have to buy it from someone here domestically in the U.S. or make it in the U.S. He just made some really cheap knockoffs and started selling it. Now, to be totally honest with you all, everyone kind of does this to a degree. People use each other's listings and photographs quite regularly. Um, People use my photographs and listings quite regularly. It didn't, I just accepted it as that's what happens. And again, I'm a very busy small businessman. I can't be sitting here. I'm more interested in selling and buying and taking care of my customers than getting into wars with these competitors, which in my industry, they're really on me. I mean, they say horrible things about me in their listings or whatever. I frankly don't care, but I'm just an easygoing guy. I was brought up to live and let live and avoid conflict if you can. So, so getting back to the fact that he's a real hypocrite, I mean, that, not only does he knock off other people's products and use your other people's photos and other people's listings, now he's going after someone for supposedly using his listing. So I call eBay, and it's really hard to get through to them these days. They used to navigate through the listings, and you would be able to find a spot where it would say call us, and they'd give you a code and a number to call, an 800 number to call. Now, literally, you can sit there for 5-10 minutes or more and go through all these different menus, and they just don't want you calling. They really don't want you to get on the phone with anyone. They don't want to talk to you. I would write that off as it costs money for them to have staff there to answer your calls. So, you know, more profit, less cost. When I did finally, it was so confusing in so many steps. I don't even remember how I actually got someone to call me, but I somehow got them to call me back. And of course, you get someone, unfortunately, who hardly speaks a clear English, typically from India, Pakistan, or whatever. And it's so fake. They're so apologetic and thank you and patience, but they really can't do anything for you. Um, like you tell them the story and they don't care or they don't have any power to do anything. And I go through the cycle and I'm like, well, put me through to a supervisor, put me through to someone in the US, put me through to someone who speaks English. We're not getting anywhere and I'm wasting time. Finally, I think another person called me back, and this one actually was American, and he did speak English. And I had a conversation with him told him the whole story about what was going on. And he replied to me the following. It gets more disturbing as it goes along. He says to me, well, the guy proved to us that you took his photos. And I was like, really? He says, yeah. I said, well, how did he do that? He says, well, I can't get into that. I'm just telling you, he proved it. You're guilty. We took your listings down. Kind of suck it up. So I asked him, well, let me ask you a question. Say, for example, I took his photo from his listing, from his product, and I used it on my listing, and I took my logo and just embedded it or pasted it onto the photograph, and then complained that he was using my photograph. Would that be okay? I mean, this guy obviously was not a genius and was kind of like confused a little bit, but he was like, well, he proved it. He wanted to stick with that story. And then he's telling me, well, if you wanted to do that, that would be okay. I said, wait a second. So if I sit here all day and I just kind of snatch people's descriptions, pictures, and make it as if it's mine and report them, you'll be taking their listings down. And he said, yeah, if you want to do that, you can do that. So again, I'm speaking to an ignorant fool who, doesn't have any common sense. So I asked him to speak to a supervisor. I know I'm kind of wasting my time and I know it's a joke, but I'm just going through the motions. So he's like, well, you can't get a supervisor. I can't patch you through to one right now, but what I can do is take your name and number and then they'll get back to you. It'll take 24 to 48 hours. So, there's no real supervisor who can do anything for you. You're on your own kind of with eBay these days, I think, in my experience. So I tell him, yeah, have the supervisor call me back. Alrighty. So I never heard from the supervisor. And the story got worse. It took a really bad turn. I took the two listings that I had been taken down or disappeared and redid them, correct? I said that earlier. Well, I get a message, I think about a week later, that they shut my entire store down. Yes, you heard that right. They shut my store for 3 days. They were it was a very detailed message like, we're not going to be sending you money during these 3 days, no one can see your listings, you lost. To a degree, it sounded to me like I was going to lose my position or my status as to where my listings were. Like, say for example, I was a good seller and sold a lot of a particular item, I would have to kind of like start from the beginning again. And this really upset me because now we're talking about loss of money. And in fact, he the person who's accusing me of this actually took photos of my product. Our company manufactures, we have our own brand. He's a reseller, and if he does have someone make something for him, he doesn't have a particular color scheme or a name. He's just, he just sells it. We, on the other hand, actually have a real brand with a real brand name and a color scheme, and we do a specific product for a specific industry. We've been at it for 6 years now. We've had like 12,000 transactions with like a 99% success rate. And now eBay became the judge, the jury, and the prosecutor. They kind of shut me down. There's a loss of money. We do a decent business on eBay. We do a decent business on a weekend, and the whole weekend's gone. So my next step was, how do I deal with this? A lot of people are like, yeah, I'll go over there with a shotgun, like all this idiotic stuff, like, oh, go, take his site down and all that. I mean, again, I mentioned this, I'm sorry to keep repeating it. I'm just not into that. I don't have the time for it. I don't have it's so stupid. I'm going to now spend my days fighting with him. I got better things to do. You know what I mean? So now I basically spend an entire day going through all my listings, and this is what I did. I took all the photos that we have, or we took, and I embedded our company logo on it. Now, you should all do this if you're serious about it and you have a lot of photos and if you run into this problem. I would recommend not putting your telephone number and your website on your logo, but identify the photo as being yours because you embed your logo into it. That's apparently what he does, and says he'll take my photo, put his kind of company logo name on it, blah, blah, with stripes and colors, and say it's his photo. And eBay will just accept that and say, oh, I'm the criminal. It's hysterical. So I go through all the photos. This takes a lot of time. And I'm really upset at this point because now, he's hitting my pocket and my integrity and all that good stuff. So I also go through all of so I'm taking hundreds of photos. We have, I think, at that point, we're close to 100 listings. This is a lot of work. And like redoing any type of listing with verbiage, I selected kind of like a weird font so that it doesn't match anyone, like a font typically not used. I think it's TRE it starts with. You don't have a lot of options with fonts with eBay, but it's one of the lesser used ones. So just to give us more like of a unique type of look. And then the way to solve the problem with this dickhead was I decided I'm going to give him a call. So I did this over the weekend, and Monday morning I put in a call, and no answer, text, because I have his cell phone. He actually tried to sell our products at one time, and we allowed that briefly, but then we noticed that he had taken a product of ours, put a picture up on his website, not on eBay, because he does eBay, Amazon, and his own website. I think predominantly he does most of his business through his website, but he put our product up there. And then within like a day or two, there was like 4 or 5 reviews about the product. And I was like, wow, that's puzzling because I went to his file. He never even bought one from us. So how would he have reviews on our product, if he never sold any? Which, okay, he's not just a hypocrite, he's also a liar. And I don't want to be righteous and all that. I'm sure I make mistakes unintentionally, but I'm not the type of person. I never had a fake review written. It kills the whole system. There's no point in trusting reviews if they're fake, and I didn't like that, so I pulled back and I refused to drop ship for him, and I kind of ended it. I didn't, blast him or create an argument, but I was just like I slowly pulled away and said, we're not really doing the drop ship thing, and I found a way out without causing a war over there. Um, and so I have his cell phone because I do know him, and I text him later in the day. I get a call back from him, and I said, "Listen, this whole idea of reporting us not once but twice, and the second time getting us shut down, I'm not very happy about this." So I went through all the 100 or so listings that we have. This is what I'm telling him in the phone conversation. And I changed all the photos to be unique with a unique background with our logo now embedded on it. Just my way of telling him, don't take our photo. I use a unique background on it as well. Everyone's using this whiteout. We have a different color that we use, a sheet for the back. And I said, I'm really upset about what happened, but I'm going to call this over. Meaning it happened, but it's done now. My way of saying, I don't want this to go any further. So he started to talk to me about some nonsense like, oh, it takes a lot of time to make listings. I'm like, seriously, his listings are basically other people's listings. So I told him I gotta go. I don't have time. I'm real busy. I gotta go. So since then it's been kind of quiet, and I'm hoping that it's over, like I want it to be, and like it should be. And when you make a listing, be careful to try to get your own photograph taken. It's so easy now with an iPhone, and I just hook it up to a computer with this little cord, and bam, I just put them up there. Type up your listing in Word, and then save it, and then copy it and put it into the eBay format. Um, Try not to use other people's photos. Put your logo on it. Very important so that they don't use yours. Try to use a different background, different font. Make yours a little unique. If you do have a jerk for a competitor like I do, actually, there's a few people like him. eBay is just pathetic. They never even reached out to me and said, hey, there's a complaint. Can you please tell us what's going on? Or do you know that using someone else's photo, take it down, you got 24 hours. They somehow just took his word for it. And when they say he proved it, I'm like, how could that be? He's telling them that we're our product, our product with our color and our photo is his, and they just bought it. I mean, and there's no one to talk to. After all that time, and then they said, "Oh, supervisor's going to call you back," and they never did. Come on. this is this is another case where it's something that's essential because you don't want people stealing, big name brands and abusing them. Where it's now became a tool for these little schmoes like the guy who came after me to kind of shut you down and give you all this aggravation and lost some money. And eBay doesn't even think about it. Like, well, wait a second. How do we know if he's telling the truth? Maybe we should reach out to the guy that he's accusing. Like, don't they know that there's competitors and people will do crappy things to each other to win? I'm puzzled. I understand something about eBay. They're in a tough position because they're trying to somehow be the middleman here and not be biased towards the seller or the buyer. And I'd say predominantly, let's pick a number, let's say 90% of the time, things go smooth. People sell, people deliver, people pay, stuff gets there on time, and it's what it was in the photo and whatnot, and it works. But then there's that, 5 or 10% of people like this schmuck and other people that are scammers and scam sellers and scam buyers. There's both of them. And it must be tough for them to kind of balance all that. I do find that at one period of time they were definitely buyer biased. Meaning they hardly, for a while there, they weren't siding with the seller almost at all, which is sad because I know a lot of people that take eBay seriously. So much so that I remember watching videos where people were like, they took it personal when somebody returned a product to them that wasn't what they had shipped, and they called eBay and they wanted feedback removed. I, they really took it hard, and you know, eBay has to factor some of this in. That there's a lot of really good people out there that you know, they have to help the seller as well as the buyer. They gotta really balance this act. What eBay could do is, say, for example, you have a seller who calls in with an issue about feedback or a problem. Look at his history. Take someone like us, for example. We've got, I think we remember since the mid 90s, we've been selling on there actively for over 6 years, like on a volume, not just here and there, but like regular volume, a daily business. Some of our feedback is like glorified. It's bestseller, quick shipping, as described, better than described. Went out of his way to help me. I call customers sometimes. They buy a weird part or an obscure part or a part that fits a specific machine. I'll call them and say, "Hey, do you have such and such a machine? Because what you ordered only fits that." And sometimes they'll write in the feedback, "Wow, the guy actually picked up the phone and called me. He's an asset to eBay and such." When you have a seller like that call you and say that they have a problem with a buyer or whatever, that has to have some credibility. And that's a proven thing. You could see by the transactions the amount of negative, if any, or very little. And you could see by the way people respond. I mean, people could just say, "Oh, great eBay." But if they say something really special, like he's an asset to eBay and he went out of his way, and it's more than once, it's not like fake where he did it himself with the fake reviews, but it's like from different people over a long period of time. You have to give that seller a more credibility. I apologize, but I'm disappointed with the way eBay does that. Um, uh, this is getting long. It's over 20 minutes already. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in a couple days or whatever, and I'm going to share some of the tips, some of the things about eBay that I learned what not to do and what to do, particularly about shipping and particularly about feedback and particularly about shipping cost, how to ship and how to charge. Just because I think even if it helps just a handful of people, it's worth doing. So I'll get to that soon. Uh, Thanks for watching. I hope this helps somebody. Try to avoid getting caught in this situation with some of the tips, with unique photos, with embedding your name in it. And if it happens to you, good luck. For me, calling eBay got nowhere. I had to call the enemy and kind of make peace with him and say, okay, you got me, but it better end here because, yeah, even nice people or laid back people, you can push them so far, but then they probably would be a real fierce enemy if you turn them into that because they're going to be really fair and patient with you, but when you cross the line, um, yeah, you may wake up the sleeping tiger, they say. Hey, God bless. Have a great day.